So in my code editor, I have my package.json file open, and I'm going to go ahead and type npm install jest dash dash save dash dev. Now that this is done installing, let's look at what changed in the package.json file. Now inside, there's this dev dependencies property with jest listed. What are dev dependencies? These are the modules that are only used for development. When the app goes from development to production, the testing framework isn't required for runtime. In order for Jest to work properly, I need to change one of the properties in the package.json file. Under scripts, where the property test is located at, I need to replace the default value with Jest. Let me take a moment to talk about this app that I will be testing. It is going to be a basic calculator, and the functions are going to be stored in this math.js file. So this will be the module I will use to run my test against. To start with testing, I need to make a test folder, and the standard practice is that I name my test file based off the module name I will be testing. In this case, I'm going to create a file called math.test.js. Now, before I move forward, I'm going to mention that I will follow the TDD pattern for demonstrating this test. Red, write tests, test fails. Green, write code, test passes. Refactor, optimize my code now that the test has passed. Now that I'm back to the editor, I'm going to start off by writing the test. I need to require the math module as this is going to be the module that the testing is against. Const math equals required math, and I'm using the relative path of the math module location. Now it is time to write the test. Starting off with the test function, this function requires two arguments. The first argument should be a descriptive string of what your expectations are for the outcome of this test. So I'm passing through checks to see if 2 plus 3 equals 5. The second argument should be a callback function that runs the test. So I'm writing an arrow function, and in that arrow function, I'm going to call expect passing through math.add 23.2b5. And let me explain what's happening here. Expect is a specialty function from Jest that returns a special expectation object that has access to matcher methods. When the test is ran, expect will then call this math_add function with its arguments, return that special expectations object, and then use the to_be method to test the exact equality against the returned result. Now I'm going to go to my terminal and run this test. And based on the TDD pattern I covered earlier, we expect this test to fail. I'm going to type npm test in the terminal, hit enter, and this will take a few seconds to process. Now the terminal is in red, and it shows one failed test. Scrolling up, I can see the error message. Type error, math.add is not a function. And this error makes sense since I haven't written the code yet to make this test green. Now I'm going to the math.js file. To write the add function, const add equals parentheses, and I'm writing this with two parameters, number 1 and number 2. And this arrow function will return number 1 plus number 2. Next, I need to use module exports to export this function. Module exports equals an object. And in this object, I will give it a property called add that has a value of the add function. And now this is ready to go. Now I'm going to go back to my terminal and run npm test. And if my code was written correctly, I should see green, meaning that this test has passed. And it is green. Now, what if my test was red instead? That usually means one of two things. Either my code was written incorrectly, which will happen in the majority of cases, or my testing methodology is incorrect. Now, for the last TDD pattern, which is refactoring, that isn't going to happen here. Usually, in scenarios like this one, there isn't really anything to refactor, but it would be during this time after you made your test pass where you would be doing this. Thanks for watching and happy coding.